Across the UK, online and on DAB. Access all radios.
Talk Radio. Give it some lip.
And they say, don't they? I've seen Glengarry get Glenn Ross, that great movie with Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, about salesmen. It's about closing the deal. Maybe it's not just about closing the deal. Maybe it's about researching your customer, knowing what he or she needs if you want to be a successful salesperson. I think I'd be to sales what the ivory trade was to Dumbo. I'd be useless because, you know, I just haven't got that kind of, that chip in. That salesman or saleswoman G. But I know somebody who does, who joins us now. Jacyn Heavens joins us. Good morning, Jacyn.
Good morning, Paul.
Now, I was reading about you in the papers today, and your career in sales, I think it was in a call centre, didn't start that well, did it? Talk us through what happened to you when you first decided to go into the world of sales, because you were a bit of a flopperoonie, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what you said earlier, I think you'd actually be a really good salesman. Because you've got a great voice, you're good at building up rapport, and you're obviously, you know, you've been successful in your life, so you're obviously a good relationship builder. And I think, when I started in sales...
See, right there, you're giving me the sales pitch, aren't you, Jacyn? I can see why you've done so well.
Am I? But exactly. I mean, when you first start on sales, you just think it's about calling people up, and you think it's just calling people up, and hopefully you do enough numbers and you'll make it count. But you soon realise that, you know, it's about building the relationships and providing value to customers. You know, that's the most important thing, I think, as well as it's about calling the customers at the right time. If you're not able to call them at the right time and you can't find that data out already, then you're wasting your time. It's so important at that right time, because if you're calling people when they really, really need the product and they need to speak to someone, that's the battle, really.
So somebody who had a kind of standing start, you've done very well for yourself. The papers say that for your 24th birthday, you treated yourself to something rather special, a Ferrari. How did you make that happen? What did you find out about your customers that meant you could suddenly become this super salesperson?
Well, what I usually found was, I mean, back when I started, the people I was selling with, they were from the photocopier days and from older days. I mean, there's a cycle of sales guys, and there's a demographic of people. And what they do is they move around to the latest sort of products. And back then we're talking about, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Then there was a big boom in mobile phones. So when you get that cycle, there seems to be a lot more commission in them, and it goes through cycles. And as the technology improves, the manufacturing process brings the price down. So it was a sign of the times. But as well as what I noticed at the time, I was one of the first people to implement a CRM. It's commonplace now, which is like a tool you use to record data. So what I did for my when I first started the job, I was absolutely struggling. On the first day, they put a yellow page in front of me and they said, right, call through that list. So I started calling through the list, and I realised that I was getting a lot of no's and I wasn't getting anywhere. And I had a pivotal moment where I just couldn't do it. And one of the managers said to me, they said, look, just don't come back until you make a sale. You're not right for sales. So I went and had a moment in industrial estate, and you'll probably see it online, where I was literally in bits. I didn't know what to do, and I was like, how can I do this? I see these other people doing it, these giants of sales. I was just a boy at the time, and I didn't think it would work for me. So what I tried to do is I thought, right, well, I'm not the smoothest guy. I'm not, you know, people aren't just going to buy from me if I turn up. How do I provide real value for the customers? And I thought at that point, I noticed that if I called people at the right time, out of pot luck, and if they were looking at their renewal date of their mobile phones right now, they'd want me to speak to them. So what I did is I changed my approach. Rather than just calling people cold and trying to sell to them, I just called them up and just said, look, it's not right for you at the moment. You know, it might not be right for you at the moment. I understand that. But you know, I work for a company that deals with a lot of mobile phone contracts. It might be just worth calling you just nearer the time so you can get a little bit of a comparison. At least then, even if you stay with your current provider, you can drive the kind of price down. And that really resonated with the customers. And then when you called them at the right time and just provided a service rather than, you know, trying to get what you could for yourself, that provided really well. And that approach, you know, recording the data and getting from referrals, and then when you've done a good service to customers, and it's a really good approach. And that made me go from 500th in the company, you know, up within 12 months to number one.
Fantastic. And then, of course, you ducked out of sales for a while. What are you doing now? You're involved in a company called, I think it's your own company, Epos now. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm 100% shareholder of a company called Epos now. It's actually the UK's 13th fastest growing tech company. So we've been going now for just over 5 years, and I started by it's quite an interesting story because I started by remortgaging my house, and we didn't really know it was a technology business. So after I left the mobile phone game, it was intense. Because the thing is about sales, it is about activity. You are driving all around the country, so it can get quite intense. So I thought, right,
And you pushed on and you made a success of that. We've got to leave it there, I'm afraid, Jacyn, because the clock is ticking. But thank you very much indeed for sharing your story with us. Inspirational stuff there, if a little daunting. From 500th in the list of salesmen in a 500-person company to number 1. It's 9 o'clock. Time for the news. It's on the way after this.
Talk Radio.
Join the Talk Nation.
Pick up your phone and talk radio.
We'll get you talking.